my God, is that the Association's music? You're darn right it is. Hello, everybody. Picks and Roll coming to you here on this Tuesday. My brain's a little warped after last night. Of course, National Championship, Final Four comes to a close. A heck of a run by the Gambler Gang all over all things madness, including our next guest, my co-host. The hell's going on here? I told you I'm out of it. Sean Barnard joining us. Hello, Sean.
Yeah, Sean Brace, were you one of those many people complaining about the start time of last night? Because I was a little disappointed. That seemed to be a bigger takeaway or bigger talking point than the actual game on the court last night. Were you fired up about that?
No.
All right, good. Glad we're on the same page there.
I expect these games to be starting at the time that they do. I believe these people know a little bit more about why, as far as dollars and cents are concerned. And, they did bump it up. I believe it did get started a little bit earlier yesterday. And it's just the way it is. And you're right. It does. People get bogged down with such nonsense on the timeline when, oh, by the way, we pretty much just had one of the greatest Final Fours that we've ever seen from start to finish as far as Saturday and Monday. And I even wake up today and I saw some dude on FS1 saying last night's game was terrible. It's like, these guys aren't pros. They're not pros. They're not going to go out there and score 130. It's not going to be 130 to 125. They're going to miss shots. They're going to have nerves. And I thought last night's game was pretty darn good. I thought the Final Four was awesome.
Yeah, and sometimes the imperfections of it is what makes college basketball. That you're not going to get guys to the NBA bricking 2 free throws at a regular rate. You're not going to get guys, hitting 3-pointers at the consistent rate that you do at the NBA level, shooting 40%. And we saw that right from the opening whistle last night. I mean, coming out directly cold there. And I kind of like that. That comes with the charm of basketball. And nonetheless, that led to 2 absolute meltdowns, with Houston being on the direct opposite sides of them against Duke, in which the game totally felt in their favor and they deserve the utmost credit for. And then a meltdown on the opposite end of the spectrum. Feel horrible for Emmanuel Sharp the way that ultimately ended. But that was my larger takeaway from last night. I thought Houston was the better team for about 90% of that game, and then they ultimately couldn't close the deal. Florida took advantage, and more credit to them. They are the national champions as a result.
And oh, by the way, it's what Florida has done every single game, of course, of the tournament. It's essentially what they've been able to do throughout the course of this whole season. The clutch time, they rise to the occasion. Now, I don't think Houston did themselves any favors by the way that they handle business. And of course, just Sampson's got some questionable coaching decisions. But at the end of the day, man, Florida was the better team. It was a good game, and they came out on top. I still have no idea how Florida won the game. I won't lie to you on that. Have no idea.
And feel the same way almost about Houston over Duke, too. Like, that one looked like a closed and shut type of game. And same thing last night. That, like, Houston, they played Houston basketball from start to finish last night. And that to me is what the biggest thing I was looking out for at the start of that game is, like, what is the pace of this play? Are we getting into this mud fight the way that the Cougars want to get down and dirty and compete that way on the glass? And that's exactly how the game played out. And Florida just hung in there. They got tougher. We saw the fouls get all over the place in the second half, where it felt really intentional that they were trying to be overly physical and get down to that level and play with Houston. And they ultimately did it. So credit to Florida here, and especially with Walter Clayton Jr. truly having a stinker in the first half and then finding a way to still impact the game positively down the stretch there. So a lot of praise on both sides here. I do feel really bad for Kelvin Sampson and Houston, as I did think they almost did enough there, but you got to take advantage of the opportunity. They didn't at the end of the day, and Florida gets to hold the trophy as a result.
Florida, a hell of a run. They trailed by 6 or more points in the second half in 4 of their 6 NCAA tournament victories. They fell behind by 9 to Auburn in the second half. They were down by as many as 10 to Texas Tech in the Elite 8. And, of course, last night, 12-point deficit erased. And I'll stick to that. I have no idea how they ended up winning that game, but it's just how it plays out. And I thought for sure Houston was going to find a way to tie the game or win the game as far as with that 3-pointer. But what a terrible last possession. And that's all she wrote. Florida's your national champion. And if you cash that ticket, nice work by you, everybody out there. I had Duke versus Florida. I had Duke over to Florida in my bracket. That did not transpire, of course, but plenty of people did cash in on Florida tickets. I saw a lot of them on my timeline, including a 25 to 1, I want to say. Somebody had them as high as a 40 to 1 too, which opened the season, I believe.
That was
So,
Julian Edlow, I believe.
Oh, did he have 40 to 1? Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. That's a great cash right there. So now all eyes are on the association. The NBA season starts right now. And Sean Menard, we got some people wondering what's going on in the comments section. This gentleman goes by the name of Ryan Coyle. He said, I had someone ask me yesterday when TikTok Barnard was coming out.
Yeah, I think my full plan for those is I'm going to do a little countdown until the NBA draft lottery. So I was kind of flip-flopping back and forth. My initial plan was like a countdown the next year, do like a one a day type of thing. But in case like they don't get their draft pick, I feel like I'm better off getting out of the way now. So I'm getting in the lab fairly shortly, unfortunately here. It's going to be a tough stretch, Sean Brace. This is going to be I don't even know how I'm going to go about all this. I've been digging through the Jared McCain archives and they are quite deep there.
Yeah, he was a man that did not mess around and grew a big old audience due to his TikTok dances. Bernard, if you missed it, back in early November, said that the Sixers would make the playoffs, and if they did not, that he would recreate all of Jared McCain's TikTok dances. And I believe the emphasis on all of them, too. So
all requested.
All requested. All right. Yeah. Well, we're going to definitely fill up those phone lines. I promise you on that one. All right, big picture NBA. If I asked you as we head in here to the final couple days of the regular season, thank you, Lord above. I think the last day is on Sunday. If I took away the trade from Anthony Davis or for AD for Luka, if I take that out of the possibilities for answers, what is the biggest surprise throughout the course of this NBA season to you, Sean Menard? It could be a team, it could be a player, it could be the 76ers. But if I take away the major trade that shook everything, what was the biggest surprise in the NBA season to you?
I think the biggest surprise is probably the Cleveland Cavaliers this year and just how dominant that they have been from really start to finish across the season. I think that you have to view them as legitimate championship contenders, and I don't think there's very many people who would have regarded them like that coming into the season. So Donovan Mitchell deserves credit for continuing to lead the charge there. We're seeing guys like Evan Mobley take that next step in their progression, getting incredible levels of play off the bench from players like Ty Jerome. So they've checked a lot of boxes that I did not think were possible for them accomplishing this season. So the Cavaliers as a team also give a little bit of love over in the Western Conference to kind of the youth movement, I would say. The Thunder taking that next step as an organization there. The Houston Rockets certainly legitimizing their self this season. And we still have kind of the old heads kicking around that the Lakers and the Warriors here have certainly surged in the second half of the season and have to be taken pretty seriously from a playoff perspective, which I didn't think there was going to be any case where that would be the actuality this season.
You're right. And I do want to put this out here because the NBA.com, I was reading some articles this morning, and one of them was based off of the biggest surprises so far in the season and or from the 2024-25 season. And of course, the success that Cleveland has had was absolutely listed on that. And it essentially we knew that they were going to be good. They were a good team last year. They were bounced out in the first round, if I'm not mistaken. Actually, no, they made it to the conference semis last year. The year before, they were bounced out in the first round. But this team this year has a different feel. Of course, we've watched them go up against Boston, come back against Boston. As we are entering into the final couple days here of the regular season, are we still looking at Cleveland as the real deal and could potentially come out of the East? Or are you still going to back Boston here?
I give Cleveland a shot. I really do. And I think like Boston is rightfully the favorite, probably a little bit more significant than I think should be the case there. That like it's tough to deny what Cleveland has done from a season long standpoint at this point. And I get like obviously they have faded a little bit down the stretch here. I think to be fair to them, a little bit more of that is kind of saving the legs and, you know, coasting to the finish line as the damage is done. I mean, when looking at like the standings overall, they got a 4-game lead over the Celtics, a 12-game lead over the Knicks for third. They're not that worried about a team chasing them. I've still been pretty encouraged by the top peak level of play that they can reach. There is probably more variance with them than you would like to regard for a top team there, and they haven't had sort of that playoff experience that you like to lean on. I think that's really the driving force of why people are more sold on the Celtics team. But a guy like Donovan Mitchell, we've seen him perform when the lights are the brightest. He is a guy that I think is sort of missing that deep playoff run in his resume. This is the best team that he's had behind him, and I do think he goes underrated on the wider scale of how good is he among the NBA's best there. So I do give Cleveland a chance. I think Boston is rightfully the favorite once again, but that's going to be a fun series when it inevitably happens.
So the East right now, all the teams are have been determined, but we don't know about the seeding, correct?
Correct. Yeah, they're in their like tiers. So the top 6 is locked in, the play-in is locked in, the eliminated is locked in. So some of the seedings in between those are not quite set yet.
But the Wild Wild West, we
Wide
still
open.
have, wide open. So something that you're looking at right now, maybe you could sell to some people that are tuning in, looking for a little push to tune into some NBA action. We actually have 2 good games going off this evening. One that actually features, for my money, one of the better teams to tune in and watch in the Golden State Warriors. Is there a race? Is there a potential matchup that you want to see over these next couple of days that we should be paying attention to in the West?
Yeah, it's that bottom of the top 6 seeds, top of the play-in that is that race to watch here. So looking at the Western Conference standings, the top is pretty solidified. The Thunder have run away with things with their 64-14 record. The Rockets are pretty locked in for that second seed, or definitely locked into that second seed at 12.5 games back, 52-27 on the year. Then the Lakers are sort of locked in number 3. They're a game and a half ahead of the Nuggets there. Those are the top 4 seeds. Then beyond that, and I'll even kind of throw the Nuggets in this mix as they're 17.5 back of the Thunder in that 4 seed. Then seeds 5, 6, 7, and 8 are all 18 games back of first place there, so directly tied. So remember that the 5th and 6th seed will get a full playoff seed there, stay above the play-in tournament. That 7th and 8th seed are going to have to fight it out in that tournament there. So those teams exactly are the Clippers, the Warriors, the Timberwolves, and the Grizzlies. It's all going to come back to these final few games of the season for where those seeds exactly fall.
Yeah, the West is definitely the eye-opening conference, and one that we need to be paying attention to. And I think specifically once the playoffs get going, because I think we could see some upsets there. I know upsets happen, and not a lot of people predict them. But tell me where the upset's going to happen in the East, if anything, though.
I mean, you're gonna think I'm a Knicks hater again, but them at the 3 seed, I do think is vulnerable. If they draw the Pistons, which it's looking less likely that that's going to be the case, certainly still possible. I would pick the Pistons in that series. I do think they would beat this Knicks team here. The Bucks, I don't really know how to feel about the Bucks at this point. There seems to be a little bit more encouragement that Damian Lillard could be returning, but like we got to see it to believe it there. The Pacers have certainly played better basketball, and I think there'll be plenty of people out there who will sell you the vision that the Cavs are this potential upset team. I don't really see that just looking at the bottom of the Eastern Conference here. The teams like the Magic, the Hawks, the Bulls, the Heat, none of them strike particular fear into my heart this year. So I really think it is probably that 3-6 series if it does come out, Knicks and Pistons there, but it might end up being pretty chalk just like the NCAA tournament has been.
All right, Sean Barnard, is there a team that we need to be looking at right now that isn't the Oklahoma City Thunder, that is not the Boston Celtics or the Cleveland Cavaliers, that has potential to win their conference and represent their conference in the NBA Finals? Maybe there's a little bit of value attached to their name. Maybe it's not a team that we're discussing. Maybe it is a team that has a lot of attention, like I just brought up with Golden State. Where are you at right now? Or are you can't let anything happen? You got the blinders on. You're looking at either Boston and Cleveland versus OKC from the West.
Yeah, I certainly feel that way about the East, that I do think it's a 2-horse race between the Celtics and the Cavaliers there. The West, you can kind of sell me on it being a lot more wide open there. The Thunder, I think, are rightfully absolutely the favorites there. And looking at the odds on DraftKings Sportsbook, Oklahoma City minus 130 to win the West there. The Warriors have climbed to second at plus 550 odds. The Lakers in third at plus 650 odds. Nuggets at plus 800. The Clippers at plus 1800. So there's sort of where the drop off is. I do think Denver is probably the most appealing just kind of value there. They still, I mean, Nikola Jokic, some of the things that he's doing this season are absolutely incredible. And he's the best basketball player in the world still, even though I will make the case for Shea to win MVP once again here. I'm not fully ruling out the Clippers, that I do think that Kawhi Leonard looks like Kawhi Leonard of late, and he can carry a team in a playoff run. I love that they've kind of established themselves with this defensive mentality. Avika Zubac getting a lot of praise and a little bit of love in the defensive player of the year conversation down the stretch here. I know James Harden is a concern, and there's other pieces to nitpick there, but that would probably be a dark horse team that I would paint. I do think outside, like, once again, in the East, I think it's a 2-team race. In the West, I really think it's going to be pretty matchup dependent on how this path fully plays out. So take a peek at what that exact bracket looks like. But a team like the Nuggets, I'm not counting out. The Clippers, I'm giving a puncher's chance. And the old guys sticking around with the Lakers and Warriors, absolutely.
Yeah, we're going to get to the Lakers in just a second, but what's the latest with the Warriors as far as Jamal Murray is concerned? They've lost 4 straight right now. Is that all based off of Murray not being healthy?
Yeah, I mean, that seems to be sort of the consensus there, and there does seem to be some fear that he might not be 100% himself come playoff time, which we've kind of seen that story with Jamal Murray for a while now, that this is a guy who has dealt with, I guess, availability issues a little bit at a more serious rate than I think it's acknowledged here. He's never been an all-star largely for that reason, for not playing enough games here, and we've seen some ups and downs even with him at his healthiest. He started the season really poorly this year, had a really brutal Olympics. It was encouraging to see him sort of come into form throughout the season. Overall, I'm not super worried about this Denver team. I think this is just a little blip and a kind of a tough stretch in the schedule as well here, but that's going to be a huge concern moving into the playoffs and seeing exactly what his status is.
Yeah, he's day to day. He's dealing with a hamstring. They expect him back for the playoffs, but he's missed 5 straight games. And as I said, the Denver Nuggets have lost 4 out of those 5 games. Not a lot of action to discuss last. Oh, the 76ers.
Yeah.
Was that 11 straight last night?
12.
How dare I discount them? How dare do I not give them the praise? Dude, this franchise, it's crazy. I heard some people on the NBA radio yesterday talking about losing streaks and total losses on a season. And do you know, I believe the 76ers, who have a hell of a history, go back in time, long time, have lost 50 plus games. I want to say 16 times. I know 16 times they lost 57 games already this year. I don't think we're going to be able to get to 60. Are we able to get to 60?
Let me check. What are we sitting at exactly? Now, I don't think mathematically they've won 23 games, so 59 will be the cap.
Oh, it's a shame. 60 would have been something to celebrate.
Hey,
So they were saying that the Sixers, I believe, had 16 times in a NBA season have lost 50 plus games. The Lakers and the Celtics, I think, combined have 13 between those two franchises. Also, as far as losing streaks are concerned, I think the LA Lakers' longest losing streak in franchise history is 10.
Wow.
10. Yeah, it's stupid. Nothing big, but it just is funny because the Sixers are losing on purpose, and I gotta give them credit where they deserve, being able to do what they've been, as far as losing on purpose, tanking this season, trying to get that top 5, top 6 draft pick. It seems like, fingers crossed, knock on wood, that's how this is going to transpire.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair to them here, no organization in all of sports can tank like the Philadelphia 76ers here. This is a team that has guys on this roster who didn't even play college basketball. Shout out to Philip Wheeler. Just rotating guys through this absolute rush.
Play college basketball?
This dude, Philip Wheeler, Sean Brace, he got his opportunity as a open tryout at a G League roster down in Texas. Got a practice-only opportunity, kind of earned it, and I kind of like him, to be perfectly honest. Philip Wheeler is his name.
Now, I like to play a game as who the hell is that 76er?
Okay.
Maybe I missed my opportunity to roll out Philip Wheeler.
I believe he was a 10-day, so there's a chance he's not even officially on the roster anymore, but he was played a couple games.
I love it.
Yep.
Oh, the 76ers, they are the best. I did put this out there yesterday in the air for the people. The one upsetting thing over the weekend, besides Duke blowing that game against Houston, which really hurt, I heard that Jimmy Butler is currently building a house in Philadelphia.
Or Paul George, excuse
me. Why do I do that? I'm an idiot. I told you I was out late. Paul George is currently building a house in Philadelphia.
New neighbor.
And, yeah. This doesn't surprise me. I don't know. Does it surprise you?
I mean, he's going to be here theoretically for 3 more years here, so I feel like you might as well. That dude, I mean, NBA money is not real money is sort of what I think we all have to be aware of. These guys all have houses all over the place, especially a guy like Paul George, who's been a, $30 million plus per year guy for several seasons, over a decade at this point. So yeah, I think he can do just fine, buy a house wherever he wants to. And I'm sure this is one of many for Paul George.
Yeah, it does seem like, look, it's no big deal if he does get traded. He'll just sell the house and move on. As you said, NBA money, and he makes top dollar. But I guess that house will be coming equipped with a podcast studio, as all houses do these days. All houses got to have a podcast studio these days, just in case your wife wants to host a podcast. I saw a Major League Baseball player, Lance Lynn. He retired last week, and he announced it on his wife's podcast. I'm like, who are these people? I don't even know. Everybody's got a podcast. Everybody's got one. All right.
Yeah.
Let's
Shout
keep
out
it
to Paul
moving.
George for, the honorable putting the podcast on hold to pursue a championship in Philadelphia this season. No, it's the thought that counts, I guess.
What a strange bird, man. He is a strange dude. He is. The more we're learning about Paul George, he's with his lovely lady out there taking the pictures, how he met her, everything that's going on there. Hey, look, I try to stay out of people's personal lives, but when you put it on the timeline, we're going to have something to say about it. It is what it is. But the only thing that matters is what he does on the floor. And of course, we know he did not live up to the billing this year. I'm not so sure that was going to change next year, but there's not much of a choice. We'll see what happens as far as the draft picks are concerned for this upcoming NBA draft for the 76ers. Other than that, I don't know what type of changes we're looking at, Sean. What type of questions are you getting in your Sixers mailbag these days?
Yeah, it's been a little quiet. I won't lie to you based on the lack of interest, and I don't even blame anybody with that. But I guess the biggest thing to note, and which has made really this second half of the season so difficult, it's tough to plan anything out from here until you figure out what the results of this lottery are. That the outlook for the franchise as a whole changes quite drastically whether or not they retain that pick and where that pick exactly falls from a financial standpoint of what they're looking at from a salary cap perspective, from just like the direct common sense of having a chance to add a top young talent to this organization. And obviously we've seen the highlights of the Cooper Flags of this world, and that would be the ideal situation. So it really is just hold your breath and wait for May 12th, and then the decision can start to go from there. But I think regardless of that lottery, that we do have to accept there will at least be another attempt at Paul George and Joel Embiid being significant parts of this Sixers team.
All right, let's dive into tonight's card. Let's take a peek at what DraftKings has to offer.
Breaking news. The Denver Nuggets have fired Michael Malone. That's wild. So we have in the span of like 2 weeks now, and a championship like winner Michael Malone here. This doesn't make any sense. The Nuggets, by the way, playing well. I mean, they've lost 4, but this doesn't make any sense.
What?
So I can the Grizzlies,
that guy.
Yeah, the Taylor Jenkins one, I disagree, but I can get where you got there. That taking a chance.
Sure.
Denver, this guy has done it. This guy connects with the players. I like the way Michael Malone coaches, the way that he carries himself. The guys get fired up. They play hard for him. They play like a good offensive system. He has absolutely maximized Nikola Jokic here. This doesn't make any sense to do this, and I don't get the timing of doing this right before the playoffs. There is no coach. You can pick Phil Jackson off the street right now. He's not walking in there with 3 games left in the regular season and giving you a better chance of a championship than a coach that has steered you through 79 games of the season to this point, and by the way, has done it within the past 3 seasons. So this doesn't make any sense to me. I don't get the logic of doing it now, and I don't get the logic of ever moving on from a guy like Michael Malone when you're at the spot that the Nuggets currently are.
I'll tell you what would frustrate me more than anything right now is if I had anything invested in the Denver Nuggets as far as a ticket is concerned for the future here. Again, I don't know too many people that were selling them as a championship contender, but we know what they're capable of. You got Joker out there, of course, a healthy Jamal Murray. This is a team that could put it together in one upset. Next thing you know, they could sneak through and get into a Western Conference Finals. And if you get in a 7-game series, anything is possible at that point in time. So I'd be really frustrated if I had money on Denver Nuggets because I don't see anybody stepping in, regardless if they've been there, an assistant coach or whatever, and being a difference maker. Malone was a damn good coach.
Yeah.
A damn good coach. What are they doing? What is that all about?
I don't understand this on any level. Like, again, I'm using the Taylor Jenkins, and really, like, even when this Taylor Jenkins firing happened, that was the only precedent that we had for that I can't find in any other team in NBA history, that a team in playoff contention this close to the playoffs, like at this point, Mike Malone, literally 3 games remaining in the regular season, to make this decision. And with the Taylor Jenkins decision, I can squint and see where you got there. That they hadn't beaten a good team in quite some time. That the John Morant situation, there's plenty behind the scenes. I'm sure we don't even know with that you just want to get a fresh voice and try this. I don't get it for Denver. I don't see any sort of appeal for this being the case. And again, like he has absolutely maximized this team. Michael Malone has been an excellent head coach for this Denver Nuggets team, getting the best out of Nikola Jokic, who has a very unique skill set that you have to play a different way than just about any other team. Yeah, I don't get this whatsoever. I can't find anything that could possibly make me kind of accept this right now.
Looking at an article from the April 5th after the loss against the Golden State Warriors, and Joker scores 33, double-double, but he was upset on the bench. Fans are, quote, speculating there will be trouble brewing. This is interesting. I think this is a local Denver outlet here that I'm reading it from. So I guess there might have been something happening on the bench. The only reason why you would fire Michael Malone is if Joker wanted him fired.
But even if that's the case, like, I don't get now. Like, if you are completely sick of this guy, like, give it a couple weeks and fire him in the offseason, then get a new voice. Like, that's the timing of this that what bothers me more so than anything, because it just feels like it's harmful to everyone here. That, like, you don't have a chance if you're the Denver Nuggets. Like, I don't know. It doesn't make and by the way, Jokic just does not strike me. In fact, he's one of the least likely guys that I can imagine like storming into the office and being like, this guy needs to be fired.
They're currently 47-32. They have lost 4 straight or 5 straight, whatever it is. So think about that. Put that into perspective. They are currently 47-32. They have a banner up in the rafters, and you fire him.
They're the 4th seed right now. Like they're a locked-in playoff team.
Yeah, I don't understand that. Don't get it. Don't like it. But Denver
I don't understand this trend. Like, and this is sort of like, I think a lot of coaches, and we've known this forever, coaches getting set up for failure here, but like, there's nobody can walk in and just change everything within a team at this time frame with like the playoffs here. It's like you got to give a guy an opportunity to paint his picture, sculpt the offense, and make these decisions throughout a season-long sample size. And this isn't like this guy has, we just acknowledge all the success that he just had. So yeah, that doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. I hate every part of this, and like I hate that I don't want this at all to become like a precedent that this is now 2 in the span of 2 weeks or a week and a half or whatever it is now that playoff teams are firing their coach. I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
No, yeah, I totally agree, and I'm sure we're going to hear a little bit more. But have we heard a lot from the Jenkins situation in Memphis? Right, like I feel like we should have learned a little bit more there, but it's not the case.
But even that, like I think we got a little bit more of the picture. Like this past offseason, if you want to look at like foreshadowing, they fired all Jenkins assistant coaches and brought in all like their quote unquote guys. Like there was kind of the writing on the wall. I'm still surprised by the time frame, like doing this at this stage of the season. And like I think a lot of the blame that he's catching doesn't deserve to fall on his shoulders. That I would argue he overperformed with that Grizzlies team based on the talent that he had, the availability issues with John Morant. None of these things applied to Michael Malone here. Like this is a guy who seemed to be in lockstep with the franchise for a long time at this point, that has had success, all these type of conversations. So it is disappointing. It makes no sense to me. I can't land on anything that like connects this.
Yeah, poorly run organization, but they were able to get out in front and win a championship just 2 seasons ago, right? Wasn't it 2? Am I losing my mind?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, exactly. Crazy. So now they move off, and they have the best player in the world, best player in the NBA, only behind SGA for the MVP, but we know how good Joker is. So anything can happen. Anything is possible. And the fact that Jamal Murray is hurt right now, that should have gave him some time. But maybe Malone said, oh, you don't like it? Then fire me. And they called his bluff, and they fired him. And next thing you know, now he's out. We'll see. Should the 76ers be in the Mike Malone camp?
I'm certainly open-minded there. I do like Michael Malone quite a bit. I like Taylor Jenkins too, man. Like I do think these are good coaches, and the grass is not always greener is a lesson that I think franchises need to understand a lot clearer here. Now, like I kind of have swung on the pendulum of I lean towards thinking Nick Nurse will probably be back next year.
Wow.
We'll see. it's just hard to blame him fully for this. And he definitely has not been the solution, but he certainly was not the problem. Is what are you going to do when Joel Embiid is, what happened this season happened with Paul George underperforming, all the injuries that popped up. So the more the season has progressed and they've tried out guys, all these kind of things, it does wonder if they give him another year in my mind here. I don't know. I do think Michael Malone's a better coach than Nick Nurse. I'll say that. So if we want to look at that as an upgrade, I'm interested. But again, if you swing and miss there, and all of a sudden you're looking for another guy, then the conversation changes a little. So we'll see. But I would definitely be open minded to Michael Malone taking over in Philadelphia.
All right, we do have a big card this evening, Sean Barnard. Let's go ahead and discuss some of these matchups to see if we could swing and get a victory here.
One more note to Sean Brace. They are cleaning house as the general manager, Calvin Booth, has also been fired.
Wow.
I don't understand whatsoever doing this right now.
What I do like is you're cleaning house, right? Like this way, there's no situation like what's taking place with the Chicago Bears, where you hire a head coach, fire him, bring in a new GM, he gets his, like you got to go ahead and tie both of these positions at the hip, the coach and the general manager. That's the way I view it. Now, it's a case by case, basis here, so that could be a little bit different. Maybe I could look at it a different way if I had all the details in front of me, but more times than not, I think that that's the right move. Just clear house, clean house. If you're going to make one move, you got to do both. But Booth has been okay, right? As far as drafting is concerned, how long has he been there?
A couple years, not crazy long, but I would argue he's hit on Christian Braun, he's hit on Peyton Watson. That I think they've done some nice things through the draft. I think I would look at Denver as a very well run organization to this point over the past couple seasons, from both a coaching and general manager standpoint. Here really does not make any sense for me. Again, why not wait till after the playoffs if you want to clean house? Why not wait 2 more regular season games and then whatever happens in the postseason, because there isn't going to be a drastic change one way or another. If anything, there's no case to me that this improves your chances. So I don't get remotely trying to blow this up right now.
Yeah, the Booth was named general manager for the Denver Nuggets on July 7th, 2020. Of course, won the ring in 2023, and now is without a job. So interesting stuff out of Denver. And again, playoffs fast approaching. It's just a very, very odd time for the Denver Nuggets to be cleaning house. Are they in action this evening, Sean Barnard?
I don't think so. Let me double check. I'm pretty sure they're off tonight.
I was just looking at the card. Yeah, tomorrow night they're taking on the Kings. They are in Sacramento, so possibly in a spot to look. And oh, by the way, they close up shop. How about that? Final game of the NBA regular season versus the Memphis Grizzlies.
That's nice there. And by the way, that means they're making our guy Michael Malone just take home a plane solo if they're out in Sacramento right now.
Sounds about right.
Cold world.
Hang out, go catch the Sacramento A's. They're taking on the Padres tonight. All right, let's go ahead and hit the card. What's the one game that you can sell us from a standpoint of tuning in that we should be watching, paying attention to as far as the West is concerned, playoff stipulations, all that? Where's the one game that we should be looking at more than most?
Yeah, I think the Lakers and Thunder from a viewing perspective will be the most exciting here. The Lakers did really take care of business against the Thunder in the previous game here, so a little bit of a chance for Oklahoma City to bounce back here. The injury report across the board fairly questionable from a Lakers perspective, so it wouldn't be overly surprising to me if there is a kind of rest decision for the Luka Doncic and LeBron James, so keep an eye on that. I'll also throw in the Warriors and Suns is going to be fun to me. We have to see some sort of desperation from the Suns team, who currently are slated to miss the playoffs outright. I got to believe there's some sort of urgency or belief in there, but they have been a brutal watch really all season, but especially in these coming weeks here. I'll also throw in there from a Sixers perspective, Pelicans versus Nets there in the very bottom of the standings there. Still rooting for Pelicans wins. If they can scrounge up 2 more in these final 3 games, and it seems like they're going to be playing absolute nobody, so not a 0% chance, that would give the Sixers a couple more bonus points. Knicks and Celtics you can acknowledge as well, but I think we kind of know what the temperature check is in that type of matchup, but that's probably the best of tonight's slate.
Yeah, as far as the Lakers are concerned, with that win on Sunday over OKC and the way that they did it, just draining 3-pointers, essentially having better defense than OKC in that game, it all came back to shooting 55% from downtown.
Sure.
But I want to give, exactly. I want to give credit to JJ Redick. I want to give credit to that offense. And, I think a lot of us are probably saying it's easy to put LeBron and Luka together and you can draw plays, but if it doesn't go right, they're going to hear about it. And it's going right now. They're putting it together, and that was a big win. Are you taking anything major from that victory on Sunday for the Lakers and the way that they did it on the road in Oklahoma City? Is that making you look at OKC in a different manner? Or are you starting to look at the Lakers and saying, you know what? Maybe we need to be talking about them in a different light.
Yeah, I think it matters from a Lakers perspective, from a belief perspective of that they can do this. They can see that they can do this. They can play with anyone in a one-game setting or for a certain stretch there. It's important to note that that peak is possible there. The matchups are really going to dictate my belief or my outlook in the Western Conference there, but they can beat anybody, and they have to be taking that seriously. As far as like what they're doing specifically, I do got to give a lot of credit for JJ Redick, just how much he is relying on Austin Reeves. And not only is JJ Redick making this decision, but Luka Doncic and LeBron James, who are two of the highest basketball IQ players we've ever seen, being like, yes, this is the right decision. And Reeves is out there getting like the third defensive option for teams and absolutely frying them there. So Redick does deserve credit for making this happen here. I do think the Lakers should be considered at least semi-serious, depending on what the pathway looks from the playoff perspective. But I think that was important for them to see that, like, okay, we can do this. We can beat the league's best.
All right. No, we talked a little bit about some of the big matchups here that you're eyeing up as far as playoff reasons and, of course, gambling, trying to find those wins. We got major dogs as we close up the regular season. We got teams that are just 1, 2, 3, Cancun, that have been there for a little while. We got 15.5-point spread, 12.5-point spread, another 15, another 14, a 19-point spread, Wizards and Pacers. That means if the dogs are barking in a big way, that's a pretty big payout. Give me the best shot at a double-digit underdog victory.
Okay. I like the question there.
On tonight's card. What do we got here?
I'll
DraftKings.
talk. I'll talk through them a little bit. So I'm taking off the Lakers and Thunder one that I do think the Thunder get back in the win column and get a little wake up call from that first game. That's a 15.5-point spread. And once again, important to note the questionable statuses of Luka Doncic and LeBron James there. There is the Clippers and Spurs. I've been really impressed with the way the Clippers have been playing really all season and especially of late here. I don't see the Spurs getting an upset and that game taking place at the Intuit Dome in Los Angeles there. Don't really love that one. The Wizards and Pacers also been playing a lot better basketball, but the Wizards are scrappy. I'm going to keep that in mind. There's a non-zero chance I go with that. Chicago has been on a heater and are taking on the Cavaliers as 14-point underdogs, only plus 650 on the money line. I kind of expected a little bit steeper payout there. I think it comes down to those games. I'll ride with the Chicago Bulls tonight. Josh Giddey has been on an absolute tear. They are a team that, like, all season should have been looked at as better than their record has shown. And Giddey, I do think, is like closing the season on a stretch that may change the way the organization views him moving forward. So if he can walk in and take care of business against a Cleveland team that I think has taken their foot off the gas a little at the tail end of the season, I think I got a chance tonight. Sign me up for the Chicago Bulls as the most likely double-digit underdog to get the outright win.
10 will get you 75, people. 10 will get you 75 plus 650 on the money line. Nice work there, Sean Barnard. Always great to get caught up on all things NBA here, as we often do. NBA season is finally here. Playoffs will be starting 1 week from today with the play-in tournament. And do you expect any upsets in the play-in?
Yeah, the West, once again, like those top two seeds will be very interesting to see how they play out. The Dallas Mavericks are a sneaky upset potential team from a playing perspective. They're just going to be nasty to play in a one-game setting when Anthony Davis is healthy. And you got the Dan Gaffords, the PJ Washingtons. That team has fully designed here. So that's a team that I have my eye on. The East, I don't really love any of the playing teams, to be honest. I think the Magic, Hawks, Bulls, and Heat are all a notable bit worse than the top six seeds there. So pretty clear how the East shook out. But the West is going to be open for grabs. We'll see how the final seedings ultimately shape up, but certainly could be some upsets there.
Yeah, what a crazy season it's been. The Timberwolves are 46-32 at the 7 seed. And right now, if the playoffs were to start, they'd be taking on the Grizzlies in that play-in game. And then you got the Kings and Mavs there. And I agree with you. Anthony Davis looked like a man possessed the other night. And a lot of people are talking. He's got something to prove.
We got that game tomorrow, by the way. Lakers in Dallas.
What's Luka going for? Is he back? Is he going to play?
That's kind of why I'm leaning towards he probably rests tonight. I think they definitely want him for tomorrow. And I think we'll get the most like expressive Luka Doncic we've probably seen in a Lakers uniform this far.
Oh, yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun. All right, well, we'll be talking all things NBA from here on out. Sean Barnard can be found once again on all things socials, and be sure to catch all the great content from DraftKings Sportsbook's own at dknetwork.com, and a lot of great stuff. Great job as far as college hoops is concerned, Sean. I know you're all over that, but NBA season, and of course, get them dancing shoes out, baby, because it's time to dance. Jared McCain style. All right. Enjoy the games tonight. Let's go Bulls, and we'll catch up later this week and talk a little bit more about the association. As always, if you missed anything, please, foxphlgambler.com.